Old times there are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, Dixieland. For you, Willie. Oh, Dixieland, I was born early on a frosty morn. Look away, Dixieland. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. It's true in marching
Still in Portland, or are you back home?
No, I'm back home.
All right.
Yeah, Portland was a pretty neat trip. I just went out to spend time with my boyfriend and his family there.
Uh-huh.
And it was really cool. One of his cousins had a Sasquatch encounter near Mount St. Helens,
Uh-huh.
telling me about that. And he said that he had been camping out there, and they didn't know where they quite were, and they pulled off on the side of the road and set up camp. And during the night, something came and was putting its hands on the tent and walking around the tents. And he said that when he had gotten up that next morning, he found this. I sent you the photo. This hair, and he said it smelled real much. But that was kind of neat. He told me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was St. Helens area, huh?
Yep.
I was looking at some pictures here just the other day, yesterday, the day before, of that area now. I cut timber down there right after the eruption. And of course, it was totally devastated. No green trees at all. Now they're back up, growing wildly again.
Yep.
You got something on the floor. Charlie.
Hi, Sue.
Come on,
She can't hear you.
Oh,
Charlie.
She's trying to
There
get
she
Charlie
is.
under control. Where is he?
You scoot him this way.
I'll just let him say hi to everybody and then
all right.
I have to kick him out. He's too much of a pest. This is Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. So
Hi,
cute.
Chuck. How you doing?
He
How
says
old
he's
is he
doing.
now?
Oh, he's. I don't know. Close to 4 months, I guess.
Oh, okay.
He's completely house trained, and he's
doing better than you are then, huh?
yeah. He's got a few
Sue's
things
still
up on me.
working with you, I know.
He's got a few things up on me already.
Yeah.
So, hey, everybody, my name is Port Cunningham, and I am here with half of Thom, Pappy Cantrell. There we go. Now we got
There
the
we
whole.
I got to get back in position here.
And it's the Pork and Pappy show. This is our 31st show.
Is it? Yeah.
It's quite something, isn't it?
That is. for a
Seems
couple
like
of
we
old
just-
guys.
Seems like we just did our first one not too long ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are here today with Sam Bradley, and how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today.
Awesome. Hey, I found out something. I wasn't trolling your website or your your Facebook page or whatever, but I did want to get a picture of you and see who you were when you were a guest, and I found out we have the same birthday,
Oh my gosh. Isn't that something?
October 16th, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. The best month to be born in.
Hers is a few days, I mean, well, a couple of years after yours.
Yeah, well, she's got it. She's at least the second best person
Yeah.
born on October 16th, right?
Yeah, right. Hmm.
You know, in no particular order.
Yeah.
But then we got John Lennon on the 9th, so I guess he's the king of October. So if you're into the music and stuff,
Whatever.
I think. Oh, you actually are, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are into music.
Yeah, I'm into music.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that's interesting because you probably know the Sasquatch love high energy, high vibration music,
Yep.
play, laughter, and stuff like that. So it seems like a perfect fit that you would have a connection with them. So why don't you tell us how that came about? How did you become interested in Sasquatch and what developed?
Well, when I was in high school, I got really interested in a couple kind of strange things, astrology, I guess more witchy things, psychology, and the paranormal. And so I've always been fascinated by the paranormal. I had my first Sasquatch encounter in high school. I was out waiting for the bus to come pick me up for school. And to my right, I was all along a road with a lot of trees. It was kind of a more rural area in Bonnie Lake, Washington. And so to my right of me, I saw something looking at me from the trees, and it was still dark out at that time. And so I could just hardly see it, but there was something peeking at me and watching me, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. And it kind of just backed into the woods and disappeared. And that was my first encounter with something like that. And it kind of
Okay.
just on a trajectory.
Now, probably in retrospect, you probably think that wasn't a coincidence, right? Or
No, absolutely. There's no coincidences ever. I personally believe there's no such thing as a coincidence.
right, especially in this endeavor.
Exactly.
That's at least when I got my introduction to them. That's when I started finding out, you know, everything's connected and there's no coincidences and
Yep.
stuff of that nature.
Yep.
So, can you describe what you saw and how did it affect you at the time? And how old were you? About 13 or?
At the time, I think, a sophomore in high school. I
About 15.
was around 16 years old.
Mhm.
And I really didn't get too good of a look at it just because it was so dark out. But it was this, taller, shadowy figure. It seemed to me that the eyes were reflecting or glowing in some sense. And I remember seeing the shape of it moving, but I didn't get a very clear look at it. I know it was on 2 feet, and I know it wasn't a deer or a bear or anything like that. It was very much human shaped,
Mhm.
I suppose. Not a person, though.
How
Yeah.
did you know it wasn't a person? How could you differentiate? Because you didn't see. I'm not arguing with you because I know you was a real experience. But I'm just saying because it was dark, right? How could you differentiate between a person and this figure?
I think just the way it moved.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen a lot of strange paranormal supernatural things, and they don't really move like people. And just the way it kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Um, it wasn't, it seemed quite uniform in its shape, not like it was like a person wearing clothes or
Mhm.
anything like that. Um, And like I said, it kind of just disappeared after I had seen it. And that was strange as well.
So so that was your first experience, but did you realize it was a Sasquatch or just something different at the time?
Well, I kind of put it in the back of my mind for a long time because I had turned to my sister who was out there waiting with me and I asked her, "Did you see that?" And she's like, "I didn't see anything," but she had her headphones in and wasn't paying attention. Uh,
Or wasn't supposed to see it, yeah. Or
yeah,
all of the above.
you know. She has since had some strange encounters on that same property. Um, I'm not necessarily sure she thinks it's Sasquatch, but she has had things whistle at her,
Mhm.
and things kind of, I guess she said there's been things in the bushes that are, too big to be deer, too big to be bears, just
Mhm.
moving stuff around. Um,
But she
and
doesn't, but she must know that you have an interest in Sasquatch. Have you not told her that's hey sis, that's Sasquatch probably?
oh, and I've told her.
Mhm.
She, I think she's a skeptic. My sister and my dad are very, or I guess more so my dad. He's very skeptical of these things, and so she lives with him, and there's no word of it in the house because it just becomes an argument. Um, but I certainly think that something's seen her as well. Um, the whole side of my mom's family is all very I guess psychic or intuitive or whatever you may want to call it. Um, so we've all had weird experiences and you know seen things and heard things and
Mhm.
received things um, on
Yeah.
that kind of intuitive level. So we're all aware of
It's
it.
funny how it runs in
Mhm.
families a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Those kind of ability. So 15-year-old Sam Bradley, you saw something you couldn't identify and you put it in the
Yeah.
back of your mind. So where did take us from there? What was the next step?
Well, it was kind of a while of completely shutting all of it out. Like I said, the house I grew up in, we don't talk about that sort of stuff, and so it was very hard for me to even get a conversation out where it wasn't,
Mhm.
told to me that I was nuts or I needed to be, on medication or all these things.
That
So
seems a little weird though, because you said your family was all psychic and
well,
very.
on my mom's side, on my
Oh, your
mom's,
mother's side. Oh, so it was the other side that was pushing
Yeah.
against that.
yeah, it's kind of opposite.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, ultimately, once I moved out, I started working on my career and kind of put everything on the back burner. Um, and so I've been tattooing for 3 years now. And I guess the more and more I've gotten into it, the more and more I've kind of evolved, uh, I guess, in other ways, like spiritually. Because I do think my job has kind of opened that door for me, tattooing and also music. Um,
Mhm.
Absolutely, music for sure,
yeah.
yeah, both, yeah.
Um,
I just said music because I understand music, but yeah, absolutely,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I think the tattooing thing is I see it as something sacred. Humans have been tattooing for thousands and thousands of years. It's an ancient spiritual craft.
Mhm.
You
And
know
yeah.
Sasquatch tattoo.
what?
Yes. Yeah.
How?
That's
Same
what
same way the Indians did.
Oh,
Just put charcoal on and then poke. But my teacher has three lines tattooed over his nose, and he's got a crescent moon and a star tattooed on the shoulder.
well, there we go. See,
Yeah.
it is like I said, it's a very spiritual thing. It's
Hmm.
now. How
um,
does it look in comparison to something a human would do for a tattoo? Is it very ornate and articulate, Tom?
No, it's just it's like more like what you'd see the Indians did when they tattooed.
yeah.
Okay.
Very rudimentary. I mean, not like what you see a tattoo artist do. but it's tattooing, you know?
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. So before we get continued on where this took you from there, have you ever done a tattoo of a Sasquatch for anybody?
No, not yet.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't have a tattoo. Maybe
Gotta
I'd
get on.
either get Frank Sinatra, the top hat with a microphone. You know the one I mean? I'd either get that or maybe a little Sasquatch. One of
I
the
think
two.
cool.
But then
A
again,
lot of plant.
maybe I won't. I don't know. What? Tom, if you go and visit Tom, you can put any tattoo on him you want. As a matter of fact, you'll get his whole body just for the company. I'm just joking. But hey, you'd be a perfect candidate for a Sasquatch tattoo, Tom.
Yeah, I would, wouldn't I? I made it 81 years without a tattoo. I don't know what one. 9 years in the Navy without one.
That's crazy.
I bet you met some interesting, like, like the Sasquatch world is all full of connections and whatever. Like we're constantly being connected with people.
Yep.
Mhm.
Have you ever met anybody that came into the tattoo parlor that was just an amazing, like, wow, like connection?
Absolutely. I mean, and not necessarily with Sasquatch, but a lot of my clients come in and we have these just wonderful conversations about spirituality and the interconnectedness of things. And my whole studio is very big on astrology. That's something I'm really into. Because I honestly think astrology is a long forgotten science and it's kind of been bastardized, in kind of, I guess, the internet age. It's become
Mhm.
a joke. But there's a lot of really good resources out there that I've learned from to figure out like evolutionary astrology, which can be really, really telling. Um, either on a personal scale, but on a collective scale as well.
Would you define that for me? What's evolutionary
Evolutionary astrology,
astrology?
um, looking at the transits and the movement of the planets, and what they represent in order to kind of see what direction we're going as a collective
Mhm.
on a cosmic scale. It's super duper fascinating. Uh, you can tell a lot from a person by looking at their natal chart, which is the chart in which you're born. But
Mhm.
on a collective scale, if we look at these things, it can tell us a lot about what direction we are going um, as a species, as a collective, and how we change and evolve over time.
I
Right.
know I know that some of the people who are really, really good at it, whatever, it's not just like reading your daily horoscope or whatever. That's how I used to think of it, right? But it's actually quite detailed and it is kind of like a science and something that's been going on for thousands of years, right?
I mean,
Mhm.
it's ancient like the tattoos are. It's magic. I honestly believe. You know, I'm a practicing witch, um, and something that I've come to believe is that, like I said, everything happens for a reason and everything is cosmically orchestrated. If we're able to understand those patterns and
Mhm.
see these things, the synchronicities and the messages as they come to us, then we're, better able to understand ourselves as individuals and ourselves in communities and ourselves on a cosmic level.
Mhm.
Okay. So
I
let me
think
just
I have an access of practicing witch.
Yeah.
so let me ask you, do you have any these astrology charts they go for nations, they go for individuals. I mean they cover a wide range, right? So do you see from your looking at the charts, do you see anything that you want to share with us about the future that you see coming down?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do.
where are we going?
So, 2025, this year, in this month specifically, is very, very charged. We're going through a lot of slowing down and recalibrating and reconsidering on a societal level. We're hitting kind of a reset button. We're entering the age of Aquarius, which is kind of, we're in that turning point right now. And it really does mean there's going to be a lot of shifts societally and shifts collectively. We're going through a mass awakening right now. I think that's one of the reasons why I've gotten so sucked into the paranormal and the astrological and these kind of supernatural things the past, I would say 5 years, is because we were entering that shift back in 2020, and now we're moving through it and we're hitting the peak of it right now. Actually, this week is one of the biggest weeks astrologically that we've had in thousands of years. And we're really hitting that turning point. And, you know, I've been seeing a lot more activity, paranormal or supernatural, or, you know, UFOs, you know, obviously interactions with things that aren't necessarily explainable. And it's only going to get more and more evident that these things are going on. So we are at that turning point where these things are becoming visible to us as a collective.
And it's so obvious to the people who have a connection with the Sasquatch and other guys and whatever, isn't it? I mean, we could see that coming a long time ago, right?
Absolutely.
I think for me, it started in 2012. A lot of people, 2012 was a big year.
Wasn't that the year that the Mayans had predicted?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the end of the Mayan calendar, wasn't it? I think
Yeah.
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 So continue on your thought. You were saying, so what do you see? What do you see for the future?
Well, I see
a golden age coming, yeah. And
yeah. And these things, you know, the paranormal becoming normal. I mean, you guys have talked about this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's absolutely happening.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a new generation of, you know, people my age. I'm 21 years old. I'm, you know, just a baby in the grand scheme of things. But I've seen these things and felt these things, and I'm coming to understand these things. And I honestly believe that is the future. You know, my generation is going to begin to see these things as well. And in my generation, I believe it's going to become normalized.
Yeah. I think we see the collective thing pretty similar. I mean, we can get into that. That's a big Sasquatch teaching too, that, you know, but, you know, all one, all connected, no fear, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you see? I have my own opinions, but I'm interested in what you see. There seems to be two separate realities and two separate paths with people these days.
Yep.
And both sides, and, you know, it's really brought to light with, you know, the stupidity that's going on. I'm not even going to say the word, but politics, okay?
Yeah.
And what I mean, there's no middle ground. It's like, what are you seeing? And the other side's saying, what are you seeing? And it's just like, what the hell is going on? And then I heard that, you know, we're going on two paths and we're going to split at some point. So is that how you see it? Like we're entering our own realities, or?
So that's exactly how I see it. There's evolutionarily, you know, we are always evolving. As a collective, we are always evolving, but there will always be, it's a matter of adapting, right? Most people on this planet, or maybe not most people, maybe like half the people on the planet, are so stuck and they're clinging so heavily to the ways things have been going. You know, we've perpetuated these cycles for thousands and thousands of years, you know, and we've in these, you know, oppressive, suppressive, aggressive society.
Another big Sasquatch teaching. Yeah, go ahead.
And so the people who cling so desperately onto that, they're going to have their entire world, you know, crumble before them, because they're not going to be able to see these things and understand these things and ground themselves in order to evolve further in that way. And then there's going to be that, you know, the group of people who are more open-minded and able to understand and willing to learn and willing to change and adapt. And that is the collective that is evolving. So I've been calling it, I
You're
mean,
going to make some enemies here, you know,
oh,
by saying that. I know some friends that are that to me seem very evolved, that are on the totally opposite side of the equation to me, that I care for dearly. It's just a sincere question because it's interesting to witness, right?
absolutely. And it's almost kind of sad. It really is, because there's so much out there that we could be understanding. And there's so many intelligent people and empathetic people and smart, just good people who are just so caught up in the cycles, so caught up in the way things have been, that they're really going to struggle when this change comes to fruition and they're unable to let go of what has been.
I have one more question for you because I have to do it while I get it on my head.
Yeah.
Because I know Tom wants, think of your question, Tom. How much of this understanding, beautiful understanding that you have, I'm getting good energy from the Sasquatch right now. It's great. How much of that do you accredit to, I mean, I know that you had a lot of this before you met the Sasquatch, probably, like it runs in your family, and it's just who you are. I can tell you're a musician, you're upbeat, you're, you know.
Yeah.
But how much of your awakening, because with me it was like I had this love zap, it was like instantaneous, a big knowing, right? But how much of your awakening and where you are now and your understanding do you accredit to the Sasquatch?
You know, that's something I've been thinking a lot about recently. I think it's a lot to do with the Sasquatch. So about 2 months ago, um, like I said, I practice, I guess, witchcraft and more so shamanism. I'm very into shamanism, and I did this ritual in which, I set the intention to open myself up as a portal for these things to move through me, and so I can, better understand what is going on, because there's so much going on. I just wanted to see clearer, and ever since I've done that, ever since I opened that portal, things have completely shifted. And just days after that was when I had gone and I met Thom and Wayne and, a whole bunch of other people who are, interested in the Sasquatch. And I had been having dreams. I had a dream that I was sitting on the edge of a forest and I saw something staring at me from the forest. And it just had come up, Sasquatch, Sasquatch, Sasquatch. I got to go to the Sasquatch thing. And it seemed very serendipitous that I showed up there. It wasn't a plan that I had there as in
Yeah,
Pacific
yeah.
Northwest.
Connection. No
Yeah.
coincidence. And you know that the Sasquatch in the dream was not really a real dream, I don't think.
No, and I had a dream about them the other night. I had a dream that I was out at a cabin and I was with a group of people, and it was all woods, and there's a cabin, and all these dogs, they were just staring into the woods like something was there. And so I went out to the woods, and in my dream, I had seen a huge huge footprint. And then I wandered further out and I saw a mother Sasquatch and her baby. And they approached me. I'm like, hey, I'm here to communicate with you. I don't want to hurt you. And they approached me. And then from them, a whole bunch of other, I don't know if they were all Sasquatch, but some of them it was really, really strange. Some of them had like big wooden horns with like moss growing on them. I don't know what that was about. That was interesting. But yeah, it was really fascinating.
Yeah, my point was, Tom, keep your question. I haven't forgotten you. My point was on this, though, is that the Sasquatch can actually appear in your dreams.
Absolutely.
And let me just give you one quick example of this that you'll really appreciate.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about, like, I've seen Sasquatch shapeshift into many, many things, or I've seen them in that form. I'm not going to get into how I know it, just I know. Even human, okay, even human form. But I was thinking, I was debating, because you do have to use discernment in this too. You just can't be, everything's not just fairy tales and pixie dust. If you don't use discernment, you lose yourself. Although you have to have trust and openness for them to show you more too. So it's a fine line. Yeah. But in any event, I'm thinking, Sasquatch shifting into a human, really? So I went to bed that night with that really on my mind, because I was writing about it and I was talking about it with another friend that we had similar experiences, and we were comparing notes, and we had definitive proof between us for a number of reasons. But that night, as I'm sleeping, I very seldom dream, I saw a Sasquatch walk right before me, like almost like the Patterson film, except going the opposite way, look at me, and then shape shift into a human.
Yeah.
And that was not a dream. That was them in my dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So Thom,
think, oh, so go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead. Did you have a closing
done?
thought on that, and then we'll get Thom? What were you gonna say?
The subject you guys are on is quite interesting. I don't want to interrupt it.
Okay, go ahead and we'll close that out.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that dreams, anytime we dream, we are kind of jumping. I guess, how do I explain it? When we dream, we're moving out of our body and going other places, right? On an astral level. And I honestly believe that anytime I have a dream, I see specific patterns and messages come to me in these dreams symbolically. I think it's a way of jumping dimensions, honestly. Or jumping is like shifting channels, you know?
Yeah.
Being able to, I think when we dream, I always have very vivid dreams, and very symbolic dreams. And I honestly think that dreams always come as messages, you know, to help us process in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a big thing, people studying dreams and the meaning and everything. So there's definitely something behind that. I agree with what you said. So Thom, did you remember that thought?
I don't know.
Oh God.
No, you were talking about the change that's coming.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that would be manifested?
Well, I'm not entirely sure yet. Like I said, it's really only been for me, my ability to receive these things has accelerated over the past few months specifically. I've always felt things deep in my gut, that I've been able to kind of hold on to, and bits and pieces rise to the surface as they're meant to. And I'm not entirely sure how these things will unfold, but I personally believe that there is something beyond us that is going to be reaching out to us and communicating with us. I'm really fascinated with, I suppose, you know, I guess UFOs and you know the Sasquatch. I think there
I
is
heard of those, yeah. Well, they've got a connection. They've got a connection.
Absolutely, but I think that with the shift coming in, people are going to be more aware of these things, and I think a lot of people are going to be kind of confused and scared. I think that the people in power right now really aren't going to like this when it starts happening.
Well, it's already happening. They're not liking it right now, are they?
No, and I've noticed that. I've noticed that.
You know the thing with Sasquatch and craft? It's funny. There was a guy, you know, people go on craft, you know, remember going on craft, or they're taking on craft all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was this one guy who related an experience. He saw all these different kinds of beings of all different types, grays and white, you know, Nordics, all these different people on a craft. And then he saw a Sasquatch walk in, and he said, and you know, everything is telepathic. He said, what the heck is the Sasquatch doing here? Like, he thought, well, what's this gorilla doing on the ship, right? And he was told, this is the most advanced being on the ship.
Yep.
You know,
I thoroughly believe that. In
I
my conversations with my teacher.
tell us
Believe me,
about that, Thom.
I'm totally the student. I want you to know that. You know, I've got 81 years of experience in living, but I am totally the student when I'm with him. He's telling me how it is. It's not the other way around. At all things.
Yeah. Some of the stuff, the wise words that come out of their mouth, like I remember when with Mary, that wonderful lady that I knew, and RE told her, we are not of this time. That just was chilling to me, you know, like some of the profound things that they talk about. some of the profound lessons that they talk about. So let me ask you, Sam. I got a couple of questions here. Oh yeah, describe the. I can't even read my own writing. Oh, describe the acceleration in the last few months. Let us know about that.
Okay, so the acceleration, I mean, it seems to me, especially, at times like this, life seems to be going faster and faster and faster. It's a snowball effect. And it's because we're reaching a turning point, a breaking point. And as we're approaching this turning point, it just seems like things are, it's just very much in our faces. And eventually it'll be very much in everyone's face that these things are shifting and changing. And as for me, like I said, it's been an accelerated process since I kind of have shifted gears to be more oriented towards this. I think it's all energy for people who are paying attention.
Yeah.
It's just going to get more and more wild. It's going to get more and more strange. And for those who aren't paying attention, they might not even notice a thing. They'll be frustrated and stuck because they're not paying attention to these things. But it really is a matter of perception, I think. I think that there is something coming. And I think that it's been orchestrated. Like I said, everything is orchestrated. The state of the world right now is being orchestrated. And I think, honestly, we're coming to a point of drastic change in an almost apocalyptic sense, which isn't fun necessarily. It's quite frightening for people. It certainly had been frightening for me before I kind of was able to ground myself and get it figured out. But I do believe that there are going to be energies, beings that are far more intelligent and intuitive than us coming in and giving direction during all of this. Mm-hmm. They need our current foundations to crumble in order for us to evolve. That's kind of just how life works. It's how life has worked since the beginning of the planet. It's right. Adaptability, and they are, going to be coming in to give us this key to, ascension, this key to evolution. And we are going to be kind of evolving past all prior preconceptions of what it means to be human and what it means to be a living being on this planet.
Okay, so what are you thinking? I wanted to get into this part a little bit more, with a little bit more clarity on your thoughts on it. So we're on two paths, mm-hmm. This side and that side. I hate to stay side, and we're splitting, mm-hmm. Going farther and further apart. So what happened when we're, like really far apart from each other? Are we going to still see each other? Are we going to be in the same dimension, reality? How is that? What is the end goal? What is the end game of that split, as you see it?
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I'm not entirely sure. So
I love that. I love that because you're honest, right? Because I'm wondering too, right? I mean, I have my thoughts on it, but I think you're refreshing. But go ahead. What do you think?
I think that, like I said, it's a matter of evolution and adaptation. What isn't able to evolve and adapt is not going to survive. That's always been the case, no matter what. There's going to be a lot of, struggle and strife in that in between. I don't think it's going to be immediate at all. I think we're at the very beginning of this divergence. And I don't know how long that divergence will take. And I don't know how immediate these things will, shift into place. I do think like I said, it'll accelerate. It'll be quite, we'll get to a point and it'll be quite quick. But I don't think it'll just be immediate. I think there is going to be a an in-between. I call it the revolution before the evolution, because
Yeah, okay.
you know, there's going to be a lot of strife and struggle between the people, between societies, between all of this stuff, but it's a necessary, I guess, a necessary evil in order to evolve and change.
Well, it's
Um,
hard to undo
yeah,
centuries and centuries and centuries of programming and all the stuff that we're taught is wrong now from the Sasquatch.
exactly.
Um, so how do you, I had another question on that, but I can't remember it now. But how do you describe, it'll come back. How do you describe your relationship with the Sasquatch now?
Well, that's a good question. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting onto this path. Obviously, they're teachers. I think all spirits come as messengers. Um, I think they're very intelligent and very intuitive in a way that I would like to be intelligent and intuitive. So I would like to learn from them. That's kind of where I'm going. I actually plan to be going on I've been calling it a shamanic journey. I'm selling all of my belongings, all of my things, and I'm getting a van and I'm going to be traveling down the West Coast and then into the deserts and then over to Colorado and up again and back through Montana and Idaho.
Keep the
And
hat.
hmm?
Keep the hat.
It'll be, I'm
Keep the hat. Don't sell the hat.
no, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not. No way. This is a special hat, I think. I've always got to wear a hat.
Yeah.
It's my magic
But they're
hat.
obviously working through you. So how is that developing? How do you feel that? And what are they showing you, as things are going on?
Well, they're showing me that I can't stay here and I can't continue to live the life I've been living. And I think that's been the hardest part is pulling myself. It feels like I've been just yanked from everything I've ever known to be true. And it's quite a strange and violent feeling. Um, and I'm currently in that period where I'm planning all this out and I'm having to, have faith in myself and have faith in what I'm being told to do. Um, and it's definitely not easy. There's always the concern of money and all this stuff, but I'm realizing more and more that really none of this matters. Money doesn't matter, you know. It Society, it's going to be kaput anyway. So what's the point of holding on to these things and staying here? I've got something else I got to be doing, and they're making that very very clear to me. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so
And how about you feel it energetically, like you just have a feeling that this is do
yeah,
this, you're being guided, right? Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I'm being guided. I mean, I've been getting all sorts of messages and all these synchronicities keep popping up, and it's been very strange. Um, I I recently, uh, I mean, I had mentioned him before, my boyfriend. I'd recently started talking to him, and ever since I've met him, things have just been completely nuts.
When you said, yeah, I recently started talking to him, you mean you didn't talk to him for 6 months or something?
No, I
You guys are really having a fight, eh? I recently started talking.
I mean, we've known each other. And we've connected through music. He's a musician as well, and
Oh,
he's
okay.
also, a channeler and interested in these things like I am. And we have been in the same circles for quite a while. It's only been like the past month and a half that we've started talking and planning these things. But I feel like I've known him forever. Really, he's incredible. Um,
Is he a
but
Sasquatch guy too?
well, now he is. Yeah.
Yeah. I know what my thought was. We were talking about it, there's going to be growing pains and it might be tough and, whatever. Well, one thing the Sasquatch always teaches you is no fear.
Yep.
So, whatever it just is, whatever is going to happen. I'm good with that.
Yep.
But the other thing is that, our responsibility, well, this is going on, is every thought and action that we have creates our collective and individual reality.
Mhm.
So I think it's our responsibility to try to create a good future, to try to
Absolutely.
not put our emotions and negativity into things, awareness, but also send out love, goodness, find good in things that you normally would judge, all that kind of stuff. We
Yep.
have to collectively change that pattern of negativity and judgment. And so that's important when we're going through these times, and to not be afraid, right?
Yep, absolutely. And that's something I've learned as well, is that I've really learned to let go of fear and just move and flow with what's coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
I really, I used to be really afraid of these things that I was experiencing, and I had run from it for a long time, and now I'm at a point where I'm just done running. And I know that, I'm doing this for a reason. Um, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
both of, but it'll be fascinating to
Good
see where it
morning.
goes. I just know that I'm gonna be coming across things that I didn't even think could, be out there.
Yeah. Like living magic every day, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's every day goes by and I know it more and more. I feel it more and more.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting because I remember my first couple of years were just like, wow, like uh, just like incredible lessons, and just like every time I was going out. So it's really exciting when they introduce themselves to you.
Absolutely. Yep.
So do you have any Sasquatch stories you want to share?
Well, I think it was a few weeks ago, Thom had told me to go visit this specific park in it was near Puyallup, Wildwood Park in Puyallup. And he told me that if I just go and sit there and just hang out for a bit, they'll, come out. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do that then. And so I took a day and no one was there. It was raining and nobody was at the park. And I walked around for a little bit and then I sat down and I was journaling there. Um, and I was just talking to them because that's what Thom told me to do. Is if I talk to them, they'll, get curious and come see what I'm doing. And
Sure.
so I had been sitting there and journaling, and I see out further in the trees, I see a tree branch being moved, and then I see closer to me something shift behind a tree. And I was like, what was that? That was something. And then I smelled it because I was downwind and I got the Sasquatch smell. Um, and I knew it was there in the bushes. And so I was just doing my thing, just chilling. And I looked up a couple times and I think I did see it there watching me from just above where the bushes were. And
Wow.
that was different and strange. And I was like, well, I guess this is. I mean, obviously, I knew it was real, but I didn't having that experience to confirm that was really nuts, really cool.
Did you feel any energy or anything related to the incident?
I mean, I think I kind of always feel energies. It's just like but I was very at peace. Yeah, very at peace, very centered in my body. Um, when I feel, different energies, it almost feels like a buzz. Or sometimes I'll get a ringing in my ears when these things are happening. Um, and I don't know. I don't think maybe I don't know. I guess I wasn't super paying attention to that just because I'm kind of always feeling stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. So you talk about some of the we know that the Sasquatch people enhance abilities in some of the people that they work with, right? Like
yeah,
they've done some stuff with me. I've noticed some things uh significantly, and I've noticed one-off kind of examples of potential kind of thing.
yeah.
Like, for instance, one time I had this knowing, And it was associated with a smell or something. It was weird, but I had this knowing that I was going to be able to see through the eyes of birds or whatever, or animal. That hasn't come to fruition, but that was a strange one. But my point is that they enhance the abilities and open us up to our abilities that we all have, because we have no abilities that, but they have no abilities that we don't also have.
Yeah.
But you know, we're being woken up to them. So what have your abilities been enhanced, or has anything been sharpened? Or I know it's early for you. I know it's only a few months, and you know, I understand that.
Yeah.
And you're well on your way, and you know, obviously they're working through you. But you understand my question, and can you relate to that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's happened with me more recently is I guess people have started seeing these things that I've seen, uh, and I've been able to see more spirits. So in the past, um, I would say since the start of 2025, I've been able to see spirits a lot more frequently and a lot more clearly, such as
Describe that. Just describe that. Oh, okay. Sorry, you were
orbs,
going there.
normal activity in my apartment. So I've had things move. And this has been happening actually for a couple years. It would happen at my mom's apartment as well. Just things shifting, moving, doors opening and closing. It's kind of a fun little thing. In my bathroom, what they'll do is they'll unhook my shower curtain. So they'll always unhook the little plastic rings in the shower curtain, and I have to go in and do that again. And I'm living alone, so it's not like there's anyone here to do that. And just things moving around. Sometimes I'll find coins just dropped in places. I mean, that's all sorts of just more paranormal stuff. And then I've been getting a lot more, I guess, premonitions, I guess, downloads, things that are being communicated to me out of nowhere. I've seen more things, spirits. Like I said, it was really funny. Me and my boyfriend had gone to a park in Tacoma, and
Were you talking to him at that point? Were you talking to him at that point?
Oh yeah, this was first talking.
Okay.
But
are you talking now because you're living alone? We got to get this relationship sorted out. You guys together now?
Oh yeah, we've been together.
And you're talking.
And we're talking. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Both things. But we had been at a park and we saw a spirit. It was really cool. It was walking down the street, and it almost looks like one of those. They call them the Fresno night crawlers. It's just these little. It's almost like a little pair of legs. And we saw one of those, and that was really weird. It kind of walked down the street and then jumped and then disappeared. And that was really strange. It just seemed
what's the story behind them? What do people say they are?
That's the thing. I don't really know. It's one of those, it's a newer phenomena, I think. Or
describe it again. Describe them again, please. I'm sorry. Can you describe it, please?
They're like little white beings, and it's almost just like a little pair of legs, and they just walk along. And people don't know what they are. They've been seen before. Are
they transparent or?
They're a spirit, yeah.
So they're transparent, sort of,
yeah. It was kind of white. And there's also something following along.
This is just a new thing?
Well, I don't know if it's a new thing, but it's something that's kind of known on the internet a little bit.
Well, that's how things start, right? Somebody has a really strange experience, and then all of a sudden somebody else did, and then it's kind of a thing that people experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it was one of those.
Go ahead.
That was strange, and it just disappeared, and we both saw it, so that was kind of cool.
And you're talking, and everything's good, and you're going to be living together soon. So Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thom, what do you chip in there? And I'm gonna go and
I don't
do
know if
my
I can
little.
follow that.
Well, I'm confused. It's hard to follow Sam.
These little
Under any
guys,
circumstances, and with me, I confuse everything so much that you're trying to recover from what I said and decipher it. So
well, that's one of the things you do best is confuse us.
yeah, but I do it with the way I put my words together are confusing, but actually well spoken too. So
See,
that's super confusing.
at least we know what it's about.
Yeah, I'll let you two guys get acquainted here, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
Okay. Where do you have to go? Never mind. Uh, oh, I love teasing him. You might notice that, huh?
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
okay. I'm fascinated by these little critters that you're talking about. Uh, can you tell me more about them? Do you know more about them, or what's their purpose? Or
I honestly think, like I said, all spirits I think show up intentionally and with a message. I don't
uh,
know necessarily what this thing was. I don't
mhm,
know if it was, you know, a spirit of someone just not fully what's the word? Like with spirits, they can kind of come and appear half formed, or
mhm,
they're very
right.
fluid in the way they
Hmm.
appear and operate. And I don't know if it was necessarily, the spirit of a person or the spirit of an animal or the spirit of, who knows what. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I think it was more so just a confirmation, appearing as a confirmation, for me and Miles,
Hmm.
kind of initiating us into this together. Because he had never seen anything like that before either. And I had seen spirits and I, experienced paranormal activity and received messages, but I had never seen something so kind of tangible right in front of my eyes,
Hmm.
besides the Sasquatch.
Hmm.
And so I'm not entirely sure what it was besides confirmation. Um, but it's definitely something I'm wanting to look more into. Uh, they say that things show up before natural disasters, or animals can tell before natural
Oh
disasters.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
think a similar sense, I think, you know, we're going to be encountering more paranormal phenomena, uh, in these times, because there's something shifting and something coming that's,
Hmm.
far beyond our own, uh, I guess, ideas of what the world could be and what is actually real and what's not.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I think it could have been an energetic thing too. Um,
Well, I think all of those things are a manifestation of energy.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. What other type of spirits have you seen?
Um, I guess I like to call them angels because I think that's what they are. Uh,
Hmm.
Usually during, you know, a time of meditation or shamanic practice. I use plant
Hmm.
medicine for that. And so it's, I'll sit down with the intention to kind of make myself a conduit for these things.
Hmm.
Um, and as I'm doing that, I've had, spirits appear to me, uh, kind of almost in flashing lights and color. I'll close my eyes and I'll be able to see these things, um, moving in light. And the angels themselves are, it's almost kind of hard to explain what they look like because they're not necessarily tangible in any way. They're energetic.
Hmm.
So it's more so kind of the movement of light and color that I'm seeing and perceiving. But it's almost like the way they describe biblical angels is sort of similar with the eyes, the many eyes. But what I'm seeing is far more fractal like and colorful and yeah, and they kind of just appear almost like I almost think of it like the magic eye books where you unfocus your eyes and you can see the image kind of pop out.
Right.
It's almost like that.
Oh.
And when I see them, it's almost like a some sort of silhouette. And that's how I've seen spirits before when I've gone paranormal investigating. These things appear almost like a negative image or a silhouette, or it's just a weird shifting of light. But yeah,
Okay, UFOs.
UFOs.
What are they? Where do they come from? What are they doing?
Okay, well, I've got some theories on that. I'm not sure how correct they are just because I'm, so new to this, but I think there's a very big connection between angels and UFOs, and obviously the Sasquatch. These things are, energetic in nature, and they are able to modulate energy in a way that we can't even conceive as human beings. I think it's a matter of being able to shift particles on a level that, like I said, we don't understand. I think it's electromagnetic for sure. I don't know. I don't know what the UFOs are. Part of me thinks it's, just spirits, angels coming to, with this message, but I'm not sure if they're, a mode of transportation or what exactly I've seen. Because I've seen them here in Tacoma out in the harbor. I saw 4 of them at one point, and they kind of all lined up in a square shape and kind of rotated down, and then 2 of them went and disappeared, and then 2 of them kind of stayed and moved and then disappeared.
I've heard from a number of people. I think even Thom mentioned this because he went on a craft one time. I think he mentioned it. I'm not sure, but I know other people have that they're saying that the craft has consciousness. Like it's not even really like a physical craft in the sense of constructed it. It's they interact with it consciously.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I think if anything, it would a psychic thing.
Yeah. So you're talking about consciousness and spirit, and and we know the Sasquatch people, like people, some of them are more evolved than others. But how do you see the ones that like Thom and I are dealing with and you're dealing with and other people we know? How do you see them as far as, physical, interdimensional and stuff of that nature?
See, that's a good question because I'm not quite sure. I think they're definitely multidimensional and paranormal in nature. I think they're able to modulate their energy and the energy around them in a way that most people can't quite understand. I think the consciousness, in all things, it has the capability of extending outside of the physical body.
Yeah.
And I think probably that's how they're able to modulate, their energy to appear and disappear or transform or shapeshift or whatever. I think it's just because they have an innate ability to modulate the consciousness outside themselves to mirror the consciousness within themselves.
Because we're all connected, we're all one.
Right.
So
exactly.
that in that sense, it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get taken up onto a ship one time, and I was back in Georgia, and they had been 3 days, 3 nights working on my shoulders, and the pain levels were absolutely atrocious in my shoulders. I
Yeah.
was awaiting shoulder replacement surgery on my right arm, could not use my right arm at all. So I was doing everything with my left arm,
Mm.
which I can do because I was ambidextrous my whole life. I started out as a lefty and then was switched to right because one person at the table was 7 people. One lefty kind of threw things out of sync. And so everything I learned my whole life, I learned with my left hand and then taught my right hand to do it.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty ambidextrous, and now I'm just what you call an ambidextrous maladroit. That's equally clumsy with both hands. But but they were working with this pain level I was having, which was running 8, 9, 9.5, and they took me. I was asleep, and I woke up. I wasn't dreaming. I was awake, but I
Mhm.
was still on my bed, and went up to this ship, and I could see beings and I could see consoles, and they were working on my shoulders. And that was in October, early October.
Mhm.
My surgery wasn't till late November,
Mhm.
and I never had an ounce of pain from that day, actually, until well after surgery.
Well, and that is until you started working with me on the show.
No, in my shoulder. The pain I get working
Oh,
with
okay.
you is in a different place, a little lower. I sit on my pain with you, okay?
Yeah, that's amazing. Those healing
Yeah,
stories, eh? Yeah.
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 You've had a few incredible ones.
Yes, I have.
I've had, my wife had, I've witnessed that kind of stuff. So I
Hmm.
wanted to say, I actually wrote something down again. Oh yeah, I think that all these abilities and stuff, that we have,
Mhm.
that they have, that we have, and we're being open to. I mean, when we say paranormal, I think that when you understand energy, it's all about energy. When you understand energy and vibration on the level that they do,
Yep.
all this magic and paranormal is actually just a comprehensive, advanced understanding of energy. So it's
Absolutely.
really normal. It's really normal, right?
Yep.
Well, unless I'm saying it, I guess.
No, I
Do
totally
you
agree.
have that? Do you have that sense of humor too? As a October 16th, or do you yourself like to make fun of yourself?
Sometimes. As
She
a,
has a good
Not
sense of
like I do.
humor.
I can tell you don't. You're a little. You don't really. Okay, that's fine. Well, I wrote
the
a bunch of stuff down now. What did I? Thom, what do you? You always have something astute to say. Well, I think of something. Oh, I know. You were talking earlier about things speeding up. Do you
Yep.
remember Art? You probably wouldn't remember Art Bell, but he's a famous talk show host,
Yeah, I don't think
coast
so.
to coast. He was
Well,
like,
George Norrie replaced him.
yeah,
Okay,
he was the
on coast to
original,
coast.
and believe me, he was the original, and you can't replace the original. But he talked about a time, and this is exactly what we're going through now, and what I'm experiencing. Because when I had my Loves app download, I just had a huge, big knowing, right? And you're talking about things speeding up.
Uh,
So Art Bell, 15 years or before or so that it was really starting to happen, he talked about a time of knowing and the quickening.
mhm.
And that's what we're going through right now, I think.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
so many people are just saying, I just have a knowing. Like, we
Hmm.
just know stuff, right? Like we're getting downloads.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's evident, sometimes it's not.
Mhm.
And the quickening is, obviously things speeding up like you're talking about. So it's exciting. We are going through those times, and what an exciting time to be alive in a sense, even though there's growing pains, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think so too. It's, everything we experience is for a reason. Whether that be, you know, painful experiences or not, we all, if you're able to learn from it and adapt to it, then ultimately things end up working in your favor. I think that, as people are awakening to this, it'll be a ripple effect. It'll be a catalyzing, you know, people like us who are able to understand these things and explain these things and put them into words, because a lot of times people do, it's far more common, I think, than people make it out to be, having these experiences. It's just a matter of being aware of the experiences and being able to put it into words to explain. Because I think, yeah, a lot of people do have a knowing. It's an innate knowing. It's a human knowing, an animal knowing, a primordial.
Well, if we're all connected, we would all have a knowing somewhere,
Exactly.
right?
I think it's just it's a matter of people awakening to that and communicating that, and that'll be
Tuning into that vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you're able to modulate your own vibration and change that and change the world outside yourself, it's kind of that ripple effect too. Other people begin to experience those things because they are able to, put their finger on it and see it and understand it.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So did you have anything when you were invited on the show, was it, and we're not done by any means, but was there anything that you wanted to, that you wanted to talk about? That was.
Yeah, I had something come up actually yesterday that kind of blew my mind. I've been thinking a lot about the ocean, and what's in the ocean. I had a premonition quite recently, of past lives. Something I've been aware of is past lives, and I've just had this feeling that I've been here a long fucking time. I really have. And through all my past lives, I've been going through this cycle of trying to remember this one thing. What is this one thing? That has followed me. And I think that, I think that I'm here now with the consciousness of something that is far older and archaic, than just my physical body. And so I think that there is something, I think it has to do with the UFOs and the Sasquatch, but I do believe that there's something in the water, that us humans don't quite know about. The ocean itself represents the subconscious. It is that, and it's very linked to the mother spirit of the world, to Gaia. And I don't know, I just have I had this strange feeling that there was, there was something out there. I think a continent that shifted into the water, a couple million years ago. And I think that I think that's where all this comes from, is this lost land that's, been lost to time. I think that's, evolutionarily, I think it was, where all of this originated, these, maybe the Sasquatch or the UFOs or the things. There was some sort of, I don't want to call it primitive, but primordial.
Primordial.
Yeah, some sort of primordial knowing, some sort of primordial being that lived on those lands. And, it was kind of an apocalyptic thing when I think it was all volcanic. And I think it was along the coast of, I think it was along the coast of the US, the Pacific coast, Northwest coast, that something happened and it shifted back into the sea. I think that's why there's so much strange stuff going on in Australia and then the Hawaiian Islands and the Pacific Islands, because those are the remnants of what had been there.
What kind of strange things are going on there?
I think I think it's just the origin. I think that's the origin of all of this, where these ancient energies have come from, where they originated. I think we are completely lacking as humans, as society, in our understanding of what the planet looked like, before now.
Mhm.
And I do believe that there's things in the water that people can't even begin to comprehend. I think that's why, I think it has something to do with like we don't know where whales and dolphins came from. Where did the whales and dolphins come from? And
Mhm.
in very, very early creation myths, they talk about a flood, a flood.
Mhm.
What had flooded? I don't know. I think there was a land out there that, I think we originated from, that
Mhm.
consciousness originated from. And
You're talking about the Noah's Ark story?
well, not even just that, the Epic of Gilgamesh, they talk about a great flood
Right.
as in a lot of creation myths, there's a great flood.
Mhm.
And even in I was reading about Turtle Island, which is I think
Mhm.
more native folklore about North and South America and
Right.
myth around that. But it also talks about a great flood.
Mhm.
Um, and I honestly believe that there is something that happened, thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of years ago, that is so
Well,
lost to us.
it sounds like there was a great flood that's being described by different people's perspectives.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm.
So you were saying, I guess we touched on this a little bit, but how do you feel that you connect with the Sasquatch? Is it through guidance? You just feel you're being guided by them, or what are some of the connections that you can talk about, or how do they relate to you?
I mean,
How do they work for you?
I think it's a guidance and a deep knowing. I think a lot of the things I've experienced are just, um, living past lives, having these things bubble to the surface that weren't necessarily of my life now, but of my life in, you know,
Mhm.
past life.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Know that very much, very well.
yeah,
So I know you probably don't want to get specific because it's probably personal, but you probably delved into a lot of your past lives, I assume.
yeah.
And what have you learned? Have you learned anything brought anything back from those experiences, or learned anything about your bigger,
Well,
bigger
yeah.
you?
I think that's that's the point of this life is to come back and talk about these things because I can
Of
finally
course.
I'm finally at a point where I can.
So talk about it if you want, and you don't have to be specific because it's personal, unless you want to be.
Well, I believe I originally came from this land, the land that was sunk into the sea. I think that's uh, where I originated, and I do believe that I was some sort of high priestess or leader in some way. Um, and I believe that I had died when these I had died when this I think it was all volcanic. I think something especially along the Pacific Northwest
Right.
coast. In the coast we've got the so much seismic volcanic activity in the Pacific Islands and along our coast here, obviously Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, all the mountains along
Mhm.
this coast are very volcanic. And I was
Right.
just the other day that there's something completely unexplained. Um, there's one in Africa and one in the Pacific, but it's like where the Earth's mantle has come up and it's there. There's evidence that there were just huge volcanic um, disasters
Mhm.
or just cataclysmic events that had happened thousands and thousands of years ago that we don't really know anything about.
Do you feel this was pre-Atlantis or was it Atlantis?
Well, I think I would say I guess you could call it Atlantis. I don't know necessarily what they called it. I think it was more. I think, you know, in that life, we were far more aware,
Mhm.
spiritually and, cognitively and intuitively. And because we had that awareness, I think we knew what was coming. Um, but yeah, I would say you could call it similar to Atlantis. I'm not necessarily sure it's the same thing, just because it's, like I said, this is all new to me as
No,
well.
I see Atlantis farther in the Atlantic,
Yeah,
and I see you very much on the Pacific Rim.
yeah,
Uh, uh, there's so many, I mean, so many eras of volcanic activity. There's not just the modern range from Mount Whitney to Mount Lassen to Shasta and right on up the chain,
hmm,
Jefferson, Mount Hood,
yeah,
Mount Adams, and all the way up to Mount Baker.
yeah,
But there was a prior level too. There's, Mount Mazama, a million and a half years old or something like that.
yeah,
Uh, Blew its top off and became Crater Lake. Uh, then there's others even in the Cascade Range. Goat Rocks Wilderness, that's all ancient volcano. Uh, Bumping Lake is a caldera of an ancient volcano, even older than the ones we're talking about.
yeah,
So yes, it's been going on for not only millennia but beyond that,
yeah,
uh, millions and millions of years, maybe billions of years even.
yeah. I believe,
And
So what was life like in that society? If you're probably it was probably very spiritual and more open to
oh yeah. Well, far more
yeah.
spiritual.
Can you describe do
Well,
you have like vivid visions of it? I mean, can you describe where you lived and what the cities looked like and what the culture was like and the relationship of
no,
men, kind of thing or
I can't pinpoint it yet. I really, like I said, this literally just happened to me the other night. So I'm still trying to,
okay, well, of course, yeah.
but, um,
But
but I do think it was very similar. Um, in To me, I more visualize kind of the plants and the animals and you know, that aspect. I think it was a land of giants. I think there were,
oh, I believe that. Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's where the Sasquatch came from, and I think that's where um, these beings are residing. I think along this coast because that's where were seeking refuge after this all happened.
Hmm.
Um, and I imagine that's why there's so much paranormal activity and UFO activity and strangeness going along um, Washington and California and Oregon and
yeah.
up in Alaska because that's where these people came to reside.
Tom, when do you see? I want your opinion on that. When do you see? I think obviously when the white man came to North America, that was one big significant moment when there was a split. Because I think there was trading between certain tribes and Sasquatch people. But when do you
Oh,
think when do you think the big split came? Now this sounds like there was something happened right after what you're describing, but
Mhm.
also when the Europeans came to North America, I would think the Sasquatch
that's
probably thought,
that's
who the hell
the
are these guys?
that's the last big split is when the Europeans came to America.
Can you talk
Uh,
about some of the splits or that
well,
you know of?
they came with all their own notions and had no time for what was, what they met, what was here. What did they do to the native people that were here? You know, they did everything they could to eliminate them. And they had a very marked society. Look at the Cherokee Nation, for example, the cities of Cahokia, the mound builders and such. They were a very spiritual people,
Mhm.
and You know, look at as you go further south, the Maya and the Aztecs and look at their societies, and those were just eliminated, just run over only because of weapon differences, actually. Uh,
Yeah. But the sad thing is they don't only take over the people, they eliminate all their culture, all their teaching, all the things that are
the the
religions or beliefs
the
that are,
Spanish
that
priests
that can make us strong and individual,
the Spanish
like
priests had huge bonfires of the Mayan Codex.
yeah.
And so there's only one or two left, the Popol Vuh and left out of it. Just think of the history they burned, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
And then you look at what the construction was at the time. Look at those walls in Cusco. And I just marveled at that when I was just looking at it yesterday. The carving at Machu Picchu. How did the native Mayans do that, or Aztecs, and not Aztecs? Anyway, down there,
The
did they do
Mayans.
that? Huh?
Wasn't it the Mayans?
No, they're way south of the Mayans, down South America, and
Incas.
Incas, yeah. And what did that people? How long would it take you to make one stone like that? And then how do you get it in position? The thing weighed tons.
I think
Yeah.
I think they were obviously far more advanced than, we give them credit for. I think they were aware of, I honestly believe that they were aware of magic and practicing shamanism, and it aided them in their ability to do these things.
Yeah.
You ever heard of a Coral Castle in Florida?
No.
Or maybe it wasn't Coral Castle. There was some place that people claim that this guy who lived there, he made this great big thing with all these huge rocks or whatever, like this masterpiece of a building or whatever, like extensive. And people claim that they saw him moving them, elevating them with some kind of energy or whatever.
Hmm.
I think that the pyramids were probably built that way, but
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised.
Mhm.
People get so up in arms about, you know, oh, how did these ancient people do these things and this and that? But I really just believe that they had a far more intuitive approach, and they were far more connected with God, and they were far more connected with their environment and their planet, and able to do these things. And it was
yeah,
because they were doing these things and building these monuments in order to, you know, appreciate and, worship these gods.
Mhm.
That's how they had the ability to do it, is because it was blessed by the divine.
yeah,
Most definitely was.
Yeah.
Most definitely was. Whoever did it, it most definitely was. And there's so much similarity between what was done in South America and in Central America and
Hmm.
in uh, Göbekli Tepe
Yeah.
in Turkey and just the pyramids in Egypt and you were talking about Gilgamesh, the early Sumerians,
Hmm.
and the similarities are just too great for it to be done independently.
Absolutely.
yeah. So
There had to
Thom,
be a driving force behind all of these people.
absolutely.
I
And
learned that there's a spot in Ohio, and I think it's called the Great Circle, and it's these land mounds that are dug up out of the ground, and they
Mhm.
span miles and miles and miles.
Yes, they do.
And
Yeah.
it's, it's believed that, the ancient people would all travel to these places, and, from all over to witness this
Hmm.
grand structure. And
And,
we
and some of those mounds have some real giants in them. Look
Yeah.
at Marcia Moore's work. She's reconstructed some of these skeletons, and these people are huge.
Yep.
You
Yep. And I think that's remnants of
know?
this, lost land.
Yeah.
And
So
mhm.
Tom, can we back up here a little bit because we kind of
Certainly.
lost focus. You got on the last split. We were going to talk about some of the splits, remember?
Pardon
Between
me.
man and Sasquatch.
Uh-huh.
You said the last split was when the Europeans came.
Okay.
And now we know, and now we know, and now we know why they're reconnecting because of people like us, right? And what's
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah.
So that's the reconnection, but and we can talk about that too. But do you know what about some other splits, Tom? Before that, sounds like I said, something that Sam talked about was
I
probably.
think you could take a look at every major event in human history and find a split there. From the Sumerians right on down.
In relation to Sasquatch and them, you mean?
Well, the first split with humans came when we moved indoors. We quit adapting to our environment and started
Right.
adapting our environment to us. We moved indoors. Now, all of a sudden, we don't need telepathy anymore. Okay. So what happens in the human body? If you don't use it, you lose it. Okay. It's still there. There are vestiges of it still there in a lot of people. And some people have developed it very well, but it's not common anymore.
Yep.
Same thing with many other types of these powers. My teacher, the first day I met him, said, we have no powers that you did not at one time have. You've just given them up for other things. And I'm sure that you could agree with that, Sam. I think you've seen that.
Yep.
And as you come down through history, you take the Old Testament and follow it through, and you can read those splits. Okay, there's what's his name?
Well, how do you interpret what's the story of the boy and one was Harry and they had a split?
Pardon me?
There a in the Bible there was two boys and one was Harry.
Yeah.
Not his name wasn't Harry. He was Harry.
Yes, he was Harry,
Not
and
the name, the hair.
that was Jacob and Esau.
Yeah. Now is there a Sasquatch connection? Is that something going on there?
Very possibly. Uh, one of them could have been a Sasquatch being.
But the thing I find interesting, and Tom, continue that thought, but the split part is what's catching my attention. Could that have been one of those splits? The
Yes,
hairy boy and
it very much could have, because it had to change from the oldest, the succession had to change from the older son to the younger one, and that's what that story is all about. Esau was the older son. He was due to receive what his father had.
was he the hairy one?
He was the hairy one.
Okay.
Okay. And I really believe that he was stepped out of the way to allow Jacob to inherit and to carry the people into into following their God. If you remember the story. But and Esau wasn't. He was a man of the land.
Yep.
He was a hunter and a fisher, and he was large and hairy. Who does that sound like?
Wow. And is there any other mention of him like going forward?
Not
Esau?
I mean that's a story and related fully in the Old Testament. Then you move on to the next prophet who lived and what happened there. Oh, I'm sorry, my memory doesn't work well enough to, I'm thinking that he was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Uh, and it had the 12 children, each becoming a tribe of Israel. So, and there's your split.
Yeah.
Okay.
But large and hairy and man of the
A
nature in the
man
woods.
of the land, yes.
Man of the land, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that sure sounds like somebody. What do you think? What are you picking up on that, Sam?
I mean, I think that makes sense. I think there's a lot of stuff, that's been, in ancient texts such as the Bible and stuff like that. I think there are examples in there. It's just a matter of interpretation. Um, I also think of, again, the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is, um, I mean, I haven't read too far into it, but doesn't he have his partner who is
Hanuman?
a wild man who they
Hanuman.
what'd you say?
Hanuman, the monkey king, Hanuman,
Yeah,
Mhm.
who probably was a Sasquatch.
yeah.
By, his wisdom and the stuff that he was teaching and whatever sounds very much like the guys we know. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then jump over into the Egyptian line. You can do the same thing till you get down to the Ptolemies, who weren't Egyptian at all. They were Greek.
Mhm.
Okay. And down to Cleopatra, who was Greek. She wasn't Egyptian. And yeah, so yeah, there's many breaks that you can ascribe to there all through history. The Romans, a huge break there, and then the Germanics following them,
Mhm.
and then you get down to the Franks and
And the
when
Bills and the Tonys and
yeah.
Juliet. Remember her?
Oh yeah, yeah.
She was a
Julia,
firecracker, isn't that what
yeah, she was a good
Marvin
one.
said? A little
Yeah,
firecracker, yeah.
yeah.
Oh shoot! Now my joke, and I had something to say, and it'll come to me, but it was actually really,
A really good one, huh?
really a really good one. So it'll
Should
come
we
back
just
to me.
laugh and accept it as such? Huh?
Yeah. Um, that's the
Can
problem.
can you
What do you?
imagine him and I for 5 years running around together?
That's trouble.
What was the topic? Okay, let's try to track this. What was the topic we were? You won't remember, Tom, but you might, Sam. What were we talking about just before I said that stupid joke?
Hmm.
We were talking
You
about
weren't paying
splits.
attention. About
We're
what?
talking about splits.
Yeah, splits.
Hmm.
Splits.
Yeah, in history.
Oh, well, of course. Okay, that was the big top. But I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of no, whatever. It'll come to me. It'll
Uh,
come to me.
it'll come.
Yeah, because it was
Well,
something actually. No, oh, I got it. I wanted to go off topic a little bit because I think Sam will appreciate this too.
Hmm.
So we're talking about humans and Sasquatch, and some people having Sasquatch blood, and actually even some people who are part Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So, Tom, what do you know about Igor Burtsev's story? The wild woman, and sorry, I'm forgetting her name. But
Zainab, yeah,
Zaina. What do
yeah.
you know about that, and what's your thoughts and perspective of that? Do you know that story, Sam?
No, I don't.
Okay, well,
Actually, her
listen to
DNA,
this. You'll like it. Yeah.
her DNA is
Well, let's get right from the beginning. Oh,
well, she was just a wild woman basically that was found in the wild. She was raised in the wild and pretty much raised herself. And it was thought that she was probably Sasquatch or their version of it, Almasty. And but actually her DNA doesn't show that. I can't remember what it was, but and I talked to Igor about that.
it
Uh,
was totally human or not?
not I don't think it was totally human, to be truthful with you.
The
I
DNA,
think
you mean?
DNA was reported to me by somebody who was trying to debunk the story.
Okay. Ah, well, then they have a bias.
Okay. So it's got a heavy bias. But according to that person, it was pure human with some unknown.
Well, that's what they say about Sasquatch DNA too, although maybe not
Well,
purely,
that's what
but
they say
mostly,
about
yeah.
mine too. Now,
Yeah.
they know what 98% of my DNA is, but they don't know what the other 2% is.
I'm the opposite with you.
They know what
I know
2%
what
is and don't
2%
know.
is. The other 98% I haven't figured.
Well, we all have that problem with you, Brian.
No, I was talking about you actually, but I might be 99.9,
And I'm sure if we did the same thing with Sam, did a DNA
Yeah.
test, we'd find some unknown in there.
But anyway, and I want you to go on from this part. So they captured Zaina, and I guess some of the men in the village, this Russian village or whatever, they slept with her, and she had some children, right?
Uh-huh.
And I guess she was very aggressive, but she became a little more calm over time.
Yes, she
I mean, I
did.
don't think, with all
But her
with all
children,
visuals aside, because it's a bad visual, I can't imagine having relations with a Sasquatch lady who wasn't open to it. If you know what I mean.
uh,
You'd probably be in a little bit of trouble there. So she must have became acclimatized or
she
to the
did.
people over
She
time.
did. But her son, I mean, he looked the part. I mean, he was huge and he was very, very hairy. And I mean, for a human, he was extremely hairy. He had very strange countenance. Uh, looked really strange. And that leads me to more to that 2%, or whatever percentage she had that was unknown,
Mhm.
because he does not look like a typical human.
Yeah. We got about 25 minutes left, but I just wanted to wrap this up with you, Thom. So what do you think happened? What do you think went on there? Your opinion.
I there is every chance in the world that she was an Almasti woman. Okay. Uh, I would say personally, and this is mainly by, I say, looking at her son. Uh, she passed on some very, very frenetic genes. They went back to the wild people very heavily. I never saw his DNA count, but I'm sure it would probably be as weird as hers was, or more so, because he very much looked the part even. So I think she probably was an Almosti,
Was he
at
all
least
hairy?
part, at least part Almosti.
Was he all hairy?
Yeah, he was very hairy.
And he also was known to have incredible strength, right?
Right. Yeah, he was a great big guy. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we got about 25 minutes left. Let's get back to Sam. Sorry, Sam. I thought you might. Is there
Yeah,
anything that
we've stolen enough of Sam's time here.
No,
is there
no,
anything is there anything you wanted to ask Thom or myself as a beginner? Sometimes that spurs stories and awareness and whatever too, And
yeah,
I mean a beginner in the sense of, well, you're young, but the
absolutely.
the Sasquatch world, I mean, hey, Thom's been at it for 60 years and I've had an intense education for about 12 years, but of course they're looking at you long before they connect with you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But that's another story. But is
yeah.
there anything that interests you, that puzzles you, or whatever, that you'd like to talk about, or just some experiences that can stimulate conversation along those lines?
Hmm. I mean, I'm more curious about your guys' stories. and how they've communicated with you. How do they, I mean, you say it's a lot of, telepathic business.
Yeah.
Well, let me speak, and then Thom can get into his.
Yeah.
It's through energy. Like I feel them every show I do. I can feel their confirmation energy, or sometimes they'll say, I don't really like what this person's saying. It's only happened a couple times. Yeah, both times on this show. I'm just joking. It hasn't happened on this show. But I've had classic mind speak. A lot of it is thought placement, where they put a thought in your head and then the answer is right there.
Yeah.
That happens all the time. Of course, the glyphs and the written communication, constant experiences that are always big lessons in them, like that are leading to a bigger understanding of a subject, such as linear time, which doesn't exist, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Lessons that lead to a bigger understanding. It's very much a student-teacher relationship, very much on an energy level.
Yeah.
Very much on a family level and a loving level, and sometimes they reduce me to tears and whatever. It's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of skimming the surface of it, but it's a privilege, right?
Mhm.
A real privilege. How about you, Thom?
What was the question?
Thanks,
again?
Thom. Thanks, Thom, for your time. No, how do they
What was-
communicate with you? Isn't that what you said?
How do
How
they communicate with me? 95% of the time, it is purely telepathic. But there have been times that it has been vocal. I can recall a time when I was called to a council and I was speaking with a group of Sasquatch, some of which were from BC and some of which were from the area where we were, including my teacher and his daughter. Of course, she was just peeking around his knees at me. But they were up on the hill and I was down on the flat, and we were talking back and forth in a language I had never spoken, didn't know, but conversed in fluently
Mhm.
for this time. Okay, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
We concluded our discussion, and I don't know how, even today, how long it was. I was thinking it was 20 minutes or so. I don't know. It could have been
About
5
that
minutes.
long, because we observed you. We saw Thom looking up the hill from a distance. Looked like he was talking to somebody, but I'd say 20 minutes.
Yeah. And they could hear them, but they couldn't see them. But they could see me and couldn't hear me probably.
Yeah.
But at any rate, when it was done, I walked back up to where everybody else was in camp, and Sue asked me a question, Brian's wife, now. And I turned around and I answered her in the same language I'd been speaking up there. It was a little weird because I did that once before in Spanish, and that wasn't quite as weird, but this was a little strange.
Yeah.
But
It was definitely authentic. There was, you couldn't duplicate that. And actually, Sue actually heard them walking away after your meeting. So
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
heard them up there.
Yeah, it was brushy up on top, so they made some noise just leaving. But yeah, it wasn't just a word or two, it was a couple of paragraphs, so it was, it was definitely a language that they were speaking. But like I say, I had it happen once before when I very first joined the Navy. I was in guided missile school back in Virginia, and we had a little pool room there, and there were a batch of Chilean sailors there attending the anti-aircraft warfare training center school. And I was talking to them in Spanish. I was quite good in Spanish at that time. And somebody came in and asked me a question. I turned around and answered them in Spanish because that's what I'd been speaking. So that's the same thing I did with them. But yeah, that's that's half of that 5%. And then there's various other ways they communicate with me. Glyphs
Mhm.
are one. I know my own name and glyphs, and and that evolved. That took time to evolve, but we found we were used to them in BC where Brian lives, and we're investigating there. Then went to Oregon and for a weekend, and I sat down in my chair, looked between my feet, and there was the same glyph there
Yeah,
waiting for me. So
happened to me a lot too. Yeah.
there's various ways they communicate, and but it's always the same message.
Yeah.
Uh, that's who am I supposed to be working with? Where am I supposed to spend my time? And with my teacher, it's what I'm supposed to be writing now.
Mhm.
I'm his scribe. That's my job. That's
Yeah.
what I've done. That's what 16 books are all about.
Right.
Passing his message on.
I'm going to
And
try to
that's
catch up to you. I'm going to do a couple children's books or something and
okay.
make it 16 to 10 in no time.
Okay. I read your book. It's pretty much a children's book. No.
No, I've
No,
actually written
it's
a number of children's books, but none of them on purpose.
none of them on purpose, yeah. But I just finished most
No, my
children's
my book
book.
is actually nothing furthest thing from a children's book, I think.
Yeah,
Although
no,
it's got a lot
it's
of magic in it, I would say.
your book is great. I just have to tease you about it.
It, started on that. How did you become the Sasquatch scribe?
He approached me on the 25th of September,
Uh-huh.
2010. Okay. And that he got me started then. And he told me, he says, you are our scribe. We need you to write for us. And I had written one book at that point,
Mm.
and it wasn't until later I realized he was with me even then,
Yeah.
because I'd be going this way with my story, and I'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and the story would go that way.
Yep.
He changed me around, and he's done that with every book I've written,
Hmm.
Yeah.
including the one I'm writing now. No, don't include that. Yes, this is perfect. That's important.
Well,
Uh,
Thom, you read my book, and
yeah.
obviously you helped me edit it.
You think I read it?
You know for sure that some of that stuff that I put in my book, there's no, it didn't come from me, right? Like
Right.
these are like
Exactly.
deep, these are like deep thoughts being guided by
Yeah,
master teachers, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I found that too. I write a lot, do a lot
mhm,
of journaling, and I have for the past 2 years. Uh, but the more I do it, the more I realize there's something, moving through me as opposed
right.
to, these thoughts aren't just coming from nowhere. And I'll just
That's
be
right.
hanging out, sitting, and suddenly I have such a, it's like Brian said, a thought put in my head out of nowhere.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, I think that's quite fascinating.
That thought placement is one of their major forms of communication.
Yeah.
All of a
It's
sudden I'm
huge.
gonna do this today, and all of a sudden you're doing this instead because
Yeah.
the thought came in, I better get this done, and there was
But
nothing ever in your mind even.
but
Yep.
sometimes it's so obvious. Like I'll literally get, and this has happened not hundreds of times, but dozens and dozens of times. I'll get it maybe 100 times. Who knows? Lots. I'll be walking along and I'll get a thought in the woods or whatever. I wonder if the Sasquatch did this, or I
Mhm.
wonder if it's like this, and the answer will be right there at my feet immediately in the form of a glyph,
Yep.
or a raven or something will fly right over my head
Yep.
just as I have that thought and give a call. One call,
Mhm.
yes, that connection thing or whatever. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
uh that's magical stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you've experienced or that you've like to talk about with?
Well, I've got an admonition for her. Please keep those notes because you're going to be writing books too.
Oh no, I trust me, I know.
Okay.
I've written it all. It's all documented. I put the date on top of everything and it's all
Hmm.
very organized.
Good.
Yep.
I know you're
Organized.
an
So you
organized
couldn't have been
person.
born on my birthday if you're organized.
Well, we got to look at maybe you got to look at your chart because there's a lot more than just the birthday. There's
Oh, is there?
there's
I
layers.
know, I know, I know. I know. The thing though is I don't know what time of the day I was born, so
Oh yeah,
that's pretty important, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think of like, well, I mean, we know it's just an advanced application and understanding of energy, but what do you think of like the shape shifting and the some of the
Bulky.
abilities or whatever that do you ever wonder about how they're doing it, or do you have any
Yeah,
questions on it?
I totally wonder all the time. I think it's, if they're able to communicate, telepathically and manipulate our own consciousness, they may just be able to manipulate the way we perceive them. You
Mhm.
know,
They can.
it may not be.
We can perceive them in any way that they want us to see them.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's how it works. It's a manipulation of the consciousness as opposed to a manipulation of anything on a cellular level.
Yeah, but manipulation in that sense, but they're not really allowed to interfere. But that's not the manipulation you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're using it in a different way, but
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been absolutely a cool presentation today. I've learned so much and I've enjoyed it so much, and I'm glad I met you, Jay.
Yeah. Well, we got 10 more minutes.
I know. I'm just
Let's
saying.
what do you want to talk about? Take it
Oh,
away, Sam, or
I
Thom.
want to know I don't want to know when Sam's trip was going to start.
I'm going to start in May.
Are
So
you?
we're waiting for, so Miles is in school at the local
Uh-huh. Oh,
university.
okay.
So we're waiting for him to be done with the year.
Uh-huh.
And I still have to sell all my stuff and then cancel my lease and then buy a van and
Uh-huh.
do a little bit of work on a van.
Sure.
So through April, I'm just trying to get all of that organized and ready. And it's probably going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but hopefully it works out all right. We're hoping to document everything. We're going to be going, obviously, to a lot of national parks, and I'm looking to go to vortexes in paranormal hotspots, UFO hotspots.
Oh yeah. That reminds me. That's one that came up. Joe Hauser's Montana Vortex
Ooh,
up by Glacier Park. You got to go there.
okay. You'll have
Yeah,
to make
'cause
that one so I remember because I'm not going to remember.
I just remind me about Montana Vortex or vortexes, and
Yeah.
it'll come back to mind.
All right.
So when
And
you're talking about traveling, you mean you and the boyfriend?
yeah, me and the boyfriend.
Okay, well, make sure you're on speaking terms when you do that.
Absolutely.
It's really hard when you.
Yeah. Don't need it yet. But it's pretty exciting. We're gonna try and document everything.
You know what you sound like? The type of person you do really good at this. There's a lot of people on YouTube who do these blogs where they're fixing up their campers or whatever
Yeah.
they're doing, whatever the subject is. You'd be perfect at it. You got the personality, and I bet you'd get like 20, 30, who knows how many followers. I think
Well,
it'd
see,
be pretty cool to document your trip, right?
yeah, I mean, so one of the things that has been communicated to me from the angels that I've seen, these beings I've communicated with, is they want me to do this. This is what they want me to do.
Yeah.
They want me to be posting and creating media that's honest and genuine and truthful, because a lot of what is out there on the internet is
It's less
completely
than that. Yes. Yeah.
twisted and it's built on the wrong foundations. What they're telling me to do is kind of resituate the foundations of what people are consuming, because you are what you consume. And if I'm
I can
putting out,
see that.
then
I knew that. I knew that because you've got the personality. You've also very open-minded.
yeah,
You can put in some of the Sasquatch stuff or some of the spiritual stuff. You can, it'll just be, I can see it being really successful for you, and I definitely
Mhm.
think that that's what they want you to do, is what I'm
Absolutely.
getting.
Absolutely.
And we're going to be doing stuff with music as well. Like I said, Miles, my boyfriend, he's a musician, and a really good musician, and he's interested in, channeling and all this stuff as I am. So what we're planning to do is, um, we're going to be playing music out in the woods and doing these kind of, I suppose, I guess, more sacred, ritualistic things with
Oh,
music.
beautiful.
Yeah. And we're going to try and
Mhm.
get all that captured and documented. And hopefully by the end of it, we'll have a documentary. That's kind of our plan.
Yeah, but just sometimes tradition and all those things are magic and they have a reason and they're beautiful.
Hmm.
But just doing something from your heart and whatever
Yeah,
is as good as any of that, right?
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, we
That,
have about 5 minutes left, and I'd like you to take that 5 minutes and tell us what you'd want us to know.
okay.
Where do we need to be? What do we need to be doing?
Well, I think the biggest thing we have to do as a collective is stay honest with each other, and not fear each other and not fear what's coming. Because I think something that's really happening right now with all these shifts and changes is that people are very afraid and very
Mhm.
stressed out and very avoidant of what is coming, and that is
Mhm.
the last thing we want to be, is avoidant of these things. Especially this week, we've got an eclipse happening, and like I said, we're in a couple retrogrades right now, and
Mhm.
astrologically this week is huge. And what we really need to be doing during this week is sitting and being aware of what's going on. And whatever comes to the surface for a reason. And I think it's good to be able to sit with that and kind of try and understand it as it is, resurfacing.
Mhm.
Um, and then going forward from there, having faith in ourselves and in the people we choose to spend our time with, and being very discerning with that. Um, I think this this shift is going to bring out the best in people and the worst in people,
Yeah.
and it's all about having patience and understanding and being open minded to these changes, because they are coming, and they're coming in, very evidently.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah, the best and the worst in people, aren't we seeing that?
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, it's
And
it's
it's
very.
not, and it's not, and it's not only, and I'm assuming, but I think so, but it's not only from people with our perspective. I mean, from the other perspective, it's also some of the people who are not remembering the lessons of judgment from our perspective. There's too much clashing and not,
Mhm.
it's not good. There's
Yeah,
no middle ground, but
Mhm.
we have to remember that.
yeah, it's definitely good to keep an open mind. That's something it's a lesson I've learned over and over again, is not to put expectations on these things as they're coming in, but just
Mhm.
be with them as they, assume themselves.
That's
It
right.
just is.
I've
Yep.
I've always said I've never learned anything worth knowing from somebody who agrees with me totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
You learn things from people who have a different idea, a different way of looking at things. And
Yep.
if you don't have an open mind, you don't learn.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
already know what I already know. You know, I want to learn new things.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember when I had my big Love Zap download, huge universal download. I got the message, it just is. And when I was getting that message, I also had the feeling that there's no question or the desire to ask. I'm complete. I'm connected. I don't have any question.
Mhm.
I don't, it
Yep.
just is. That was a big message. There's a bunch more stuff, but it's just
Mhm.
like it's an exciting world that's happening. And man, this adventure that we're all going through and that you're just kind of beginning
Hmm.
is really exciting. But I mean, you're not really beginning, but the Sasquatch awareness and that part of it is opening up for you.
Yeah.
And that's extremely exciting. I can't wait to talk to you in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Man,
And that's the thing, is I feel like I've always known these things on some level innately. It's just opening up and unfolding before me now, and I'm
Mhm.
finally putting all the pieces together.
Yeah, that knowing is raising your consciousness or whatever in a way, because like I said, we're all connected. So
Yep.
we all know everything,
Yep.
Mhm.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Except for me, maybe. But but you know what I mean? So it
Mhm.
just makes perfect sense. It's just the beauty of connection and whatever. So close us off when you talk about connection. Like for me, the Sasquatch messages, well, part of it is all one, all connected,
Mhm.
and all the different things, you know, whatever. But what does connection mean for you? What does the all one mean for you? What is that picture for you? And then we'll bid you a fond adieu and have you back with updates.
Well, I think that we're all on different levels of evolution. I think we're all evolving to one point of this connectedness, of this realization of connectedness. And we're all on different points of this path, but we are all on, you know, a track towards this oneness and understanding this oneness. I absolutely think that everyone is connected, you know, despite where they're at or what they're doing. It's just a matter of awakening to that, and I think that's what's coming is this mass awakening.
Well, that's
Mhm.
absolutely, you know, that's true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom,
Absolutely.
anything on closing it out before we bid this lovely young
I
lady a
I
fond
I
adieu?
think I think we have covered a wide range. There's
Yep.
more to cover naturally, but time will bring that back to us. And I want to thank you, Sam, for an absolutely great 2 hours. It's
Yep.
just been
Thank you guys for
it's
inviting.
kind of flown by. And
Yeah, it's been great.
yeah, keep in close touch with me, would you please?
Absolutely.
All right. All
And
right.
will you come back when you have some more exciting updates, or you just want to share something with us?
And you
Absolutely.
can wear your other hat too.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll even have
What
a
other
different.
hat? Wait a minute, you have another hat?
I've got
Yes.
multiple hats.
Can I see one more before you go? Or is
Yeah.
it way?
Let's see if I can find it somewhere.
Hey, this is a fashion show. We got everything. I mean, we really, this
I
is
got it.
all, you
We
know,
covered
we got
all,
everything
don't we?
covered. We got it all going on. Oh,
This is the
There
other
it is.
one.
There we go. I like that
Hooray!
one.
oh, that's like a up north here, like in the Arctic or
Yeah.
something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you cold, or you just like those furry hats?
I just like these hats. These are my magic hats. I think they got special powers or something.
Obviously, yeah.
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 Well, you brought a lot of magic to the show, so I guess you're right, right?
All
Yep.
right.
Thank you
Wasn't
very
that a
much, you
great line,
guys.
Tom?
I'm I've said everything I need to say today.
But I actually meant it. You did bring a lot of magic to the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes I don't mean. I'll just say that to you know.
Uh, I want to thank I want to thank you very much, Sam. Thank you so
Thank you guys
much.
very
Thanks,
much.
Sam. Oh, and thank you everybody for watching. If
Yeah.
anybody is watching,
Yes, yes.
hopefully they are. And we'll see you all next time. And we have who do we have on next week?
I don't know. You're keeping track of that stuff.
Should I look quickly or no. Anyway, we got a show. We got a
We'll
show next
guess.
week, and then I got to get busy trying to get guests again.
Yeah, we got to get booked up.
You know anybody
Okay.
that you know anybody that
Yeah,
we have to have on the show, Sam?
I'm not too sure yet, but I'll let you know if I find anyone.
all right. Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye,
You be good
everybody.
now. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time on the Pork and
Hush,
Pappy
little
Show.
baby,
Yeah.
don't you cry. You know your daddy about to die. But all my trials, Lord, will soon be over.